Welcome to Season 6, Episode 7 of Stick to Sports. I'm Ben Diamond.
And I'm Brian Burrows. Today is our NFL Draft Special.
Roll it. We're going to start off looking at the possible picks for the Washington Commanders with the number 2 pick, with the Bears all but certainly taking QB Caleb Williams with the first pick. It is possible the Commanders to follow suit, picking a quarterback after trading away Sam Howell to the Seattle Seahawks. Brian, what area are the Commanders taking care of with the number 2 pick?
I mean, if you don't say quarterback here, I think you're stupid. Honestly, I mean, every analyst this offseason so far it's QB for the Commanders. Even before they traded Howell, the trade of Howell is almost a guarantee. It's a QB. It's just who are you thinking? Is it Daniels? Is it Howell? No, sorry, not Howell. Is it May, the other UNC quarterback, or potentially J.J. McCarthy? Though I don't see him going there. Personally, I'm leaning Jaden Daniels. I think he fits the Kingsbury system a little bit better. The not great offensive line, Daniels can kind of maneuver with that. I think the Commanders will take that into effect. And like I said, Cliff Kingsbury, the new offensive coordinator, had Kyler Murray, Jaden Daniels, similar as well movement, arms talent-wise. I think that Jaden Daniels fits this better, and I think he'll be the pick there. Yeah,
I think you really can't go wrong. You're the second pick after Caleb Williams already gone, but there's still a plethora of quarterbacks that they can take. But, I mean, once you trade Sam Howell, he didn't have a terrible season, but he wasn't fantastic. And, of course, to trade him away to Seattle. And this draft right here really could shape up their entire season. They brought in a lot of solid players to fill spots that they didn't have really good strength in last season with the acquisition of head coach Dan Quinn into the system. So I think really any quarterback they take with the 2 could make a big difference in their season.
The Bill Belichick era in New England is over, and so is the Mac Jones era. The new head coach, Gerard Mayo, sent Jones on his way to Jacksonville and now needs a quarterback to start his reign and rebuild the fallen dynasty. Though they have publicly said they are willing to listen to trades for the pick, a QB here seems likely. Ben, do you agree?
Yeah, ultimately, I think that's what they need at this point. Usually, we saw it with the Texans as well. You just need a quarterback in order to get your franchise back in the right direction. You can have all of the wide receivers, running backs, defensive options you want, but as long as you don't have a quarterback, your franchise really isn't going to go much further than you hope it can. And, I mean, they just traded with Mac Jones, as you said. They could bring in a guy like J.J. McCarthy, but he kind of fits a similar mold, I feel like. A little bit more of a game general, not as mobile as, you might hope from, a quarterback in today's NFL. But they might stray away from the Belichick way. They might go with somebody that might not fit the same, sort of representation that the Patriots have gotten over the last 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's likely whoever has taken it to, Mayor Daniels. They could be McCarthy. The de facto GM, Elliott Wolf, has publicly said that he likes McCarthy. Though also, I think we're going to say it's the next 3 picks, really. It could be a trade down to the Vikings. The Vikings have reportedly been very aggressive trying to move up in the draft. This is one of the next 3 picks they really could look at moving up to. In that case, it's most likely May. I don't know why I keep saying Sam Howell. But if it's the Patriots, I think it's just whoever's left.
The Arizona Cardinals sit at the number 4 pick in the NFL draft and look for this piece to help them improve from their 4-13 season in 2023. With the first 3 teams possibly picking quarterbacks, wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. could be the weapon headed to the desert. Is grabbing a new wide receiver a good move for the Cardinals, or are there more glaring needs that the Cardinals are going to look for here early in the draft?
I mean, wide receiver is one of their glaring needs, so Marvin Harrison Jr. is a perfect fit. He'll be number 1 receiver for Kyler Murray. It's going to be an amazing duo to watch. Other needs could be offensive line or cornerback, but you're not taking that at 4. That's where they would possibly trade down and get one of those positions. But if it's not Marvin Harrison, I'm going to be shocked. He seems like a shoo-in for this offense. He seems like a shoo-in to be Kyler Murray's new favorite target. He is the best player in the draft, regardless of position. He is absolutely amazing. He showed that at Ohio State, where he looked heads and fields above other receivers who are also first-round talent.
Yeah, I mean, there's of course, once again, a lot of options, especially if a lot of the top teams are going quarterback. You have a plethora of other options to go for early in the draft. And I mean, we mentioned, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State, but I feel like Malik Neighbors also could be a possible pick here early in the draft. We saw him thrive at LSU with Jaden Daniels. Of course, Jaden Daniels kind of similar to Kyler Murray, a little bit just how they play, just their running ability, their ability to stretch plays. Possibly, he could be a good fit with Kyler Murray, with Malik Neighbors. But we'll have to wait and see because, of course, as you mentioned as well, a lot of options that they need and a lot of needs that they need to fill throughout this entire draft.
The third team in the top 5 with a new head coach. John Harbaugh is now at the helm for the Chargers. They got rid of Justin Herbert's biggest weapons in the offseason in Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler. But I've also said they want to get protection for Herbert. Which way do you think they're going?
This pick, I think, is going to be super interesting, and especially one to watch early in this draft. I think this could, if there are trades in this draft, this could be the first one. As you mentioned before, possibly, one of those earlier picks being traded back. But I think this one might be the one. There have been whispers about this one possibly being traded away. The Chargers, I've seen much recently as the Vikings possibly being the ones to move into this slot. But if the Chargers do end up keeping this slot, they could go, get a weapon for Herbert, but I feel like what's much more likely is probably going to be offensive line help, possibly to, really protect Herbert, help him, stop him from getting injured. Really, that could be the difference in a winning season and a losing season for this Chargers team. Yeah,
I think it's either Neighbors or Odunze, though it feels like Neighbors. Odunze has been comped to Keenan Allen, though, so it could be a good fit there. Offensive line, the protection thing is going to be on the board there, and he is by far the best offensive tackle available. We'll get into it a little bit later, but that could be a good pick for them as well. And the trade back option too. This really does feel like the first of those teams that is the true option to trade back. They would probably acquire the 23rd pick the Vikings acquired if it was a trade up from the Vikings, and the Vikings were looking to get McCarthy or whichever quarterback is left. So the Chargers, I really do agree with you that this pick looked to get traded most likely.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive into draft position groups here on WTOP 10.
Would you like to try snacks from faraway lands? Or snacks with bizarre flavors? How about snacks in new ways? Or snacks you've never tried before? You don't have to go far to find these snacks. They can all be found here at Snacks on West First Street.
Yeah, we're walking around campus, and what do we see?
All these clubs are looking.
They're looking for me.
There's hockey,
There's improv,
so much to see. So let's go try them out and see how they be. Come on and please watch.
Our embarrassment's free. Tune in to Amateurs on WTOP.
Happy Friday, Lakers, and another beautiful day here in Oswego, New York. I'm DJ Don Perone, and I'm happy that you're starting your weekend off right listening to WNYO 88.9 FM, the Laker Radio Network.
I said, darling, can you see? There's no room for us. There's no room. Now our lives are changing. Promises keep slipping. And I always knew it wasn't you. It wasn't you. Now our lives are changing. Promises keep slipping. And I always knew it wasn't you. It wasn't you.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. The class of wide receivers in the 2024 draft has the potential to be talked about as one of the best in recent memory, with big names like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors headlining the class. A lot of teams will be able to benefit from the deep draft class. Brian, what do you like most about this draft, this class of wide receivers?
I mean, this class of receivers has everything. You have X receivers, you have slot receivers, you have speed guys, route runners. It's crazy. I mean, the top 3 guys are all going to be top 10 picks, but you're looking at 7 or 8 in the first round, and then into the second round and even further, they're going to be really good picks in the second, third, even fourth round. I mean, guys like Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, super fast out of Texas. They're going to go end of the first, maybe second round. You look at Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman, Thomas, probably a first-round pick. Coleman, maybe a second or third-round guy. It's like whatever you need, you're going to be able to find it wherever you're picking. If you need a receiver, there's going to be some type of receiver that will fit your system available in this draft class.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I feel like a lot of these top guys, especially the guys in the top 10, could really shape an offense, especially, I believe, Marvin Harrison really could shape an offense, the offense that he gets drafted to, because he'd be drafted at the top, and usually those guys will pan out. But it remains to be seen. But I really like all these guys on the list, especially the guys that go forward as well.
The offensive tackle class is stacked with multiple projected to go in the first round. Ben, which names stand out to you, and how many do you think go in this first round?
I mean, stand out to me, I got to go with Joe Alt from Notre Dame. I mean, right there at the top of your list, he's going to be the first tackle off the board without a doubt. And, I mean, he allowed 1 sack in 713 offensive snaps this past season and only 4 in his last 3 seasons. So, I mean, if that's the top guy right there and he's going within the top 7 picks, top 8 picks in the draft, I can only imagine the guys that are going to follow him as well. And I'm talking about guys like Amarius Mims from Georgia as well. Another guy that has a lot of been talked about a lot. He might fall a little bit further back, maybe towards the 20s, but he's still a top option for offensive tackles in this draft.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where Tulise Fuaga from Oregon State goes. He's going to be a super dominant run blocker. His run blocking sets on tape look amazing. Any team that's looking to upgrade the run game or just boost their run game at all on that right side, he is going to be that guy to get. He'll probably go in the 10 to 20 range, and it's an incredible class. It's also super deep, just like the wide receivers.
We've seen plenty of edge rushers go early in drafts over the last few seasons, but we could be looking at potentially 2 top 10 edge rushers in this year's draft. Who excites you the most in this class, Brian?
I actually think for me, there's 3 guys that really excite me. You're looking at Dallas Turner, Liatu Latu, and Jared Verse. 2 of those guys, as you said, probably go in the top 10. The Falcons and the Bears, maybe. And then one of them's going to end up falling a little bit further. To me, it's Turner and Latu probably, though Jared Verse could definitely be one of them. I think Verse probably falls maybe a little to the back end of the teens or the early 20s. But this class, as you see on the full screen there, is also just as deep. Chop Robinson is going to be a really good guy, as well as Darius Robinson from Missouri. You look, this an offensive heavy class, so unfortunately, defensive players in general, but definitely the edge rushers are going to fall a little bit, but they are really good, especially those top guys.
Yeah, we're already seeing a lot of these edge rushers drop in mock drafts. I saw Chop Robinson going at like 28 in a mock draft. So these guys, even though they're some of the top rushers in college football, they're still falling in this draft. But I mean, you said Jared Verse, he had 9 sacks in 2 straight seasons. I feel like he could be one of those guys, as you mentioned, early in this first round. It's going to be exciting to see where these guys will fall as the draft continues.
Cornerback is always a very coveted position in the first round, and this year there are a few players who are first-round talents. Ben, do you think there's going to be more or less than 4 in this first round?
You know, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be 3. So it's going to be really close. It's going to be. I don't know. Cooper DeJean, Terran Arnold, possibly. He had a really good season, and then I've seen a lot of Kool-Aid McKinstry in a lot of mock drafts as well. So the Alabama duo between Arnold and McKinstry it's going to be interesting to see if they both fall in the first round. But also Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, I feel like he's locked in to go in the first round as well. But I want to focus in on Arnold. He was really, really good. He finished the season with 5 interceptions, and he had 63 total tackles, 1 sack, and he also had a forced fumble. I feel like he could be a guy that, when we look in a couple of years, that people are talking about when it comes to top cornerbacks in the league.
I'm actually going to go opposite you. I think there's going to be maybe 5 or 6 that go in this first round. I think, as you see on the full screen, Quinyon Mitchell is definitely going in the first. Arnold and Wiggins, I think, are going to be the next 2. McKinstry and DeJean are probably going to be into the 20s. And then I think maybe if a team's like needy, they may sneak up for maybe a Sainstraw, Lassiter, or Rakestraw, or maybe even TJ Tampa late in that first round.
Every team has their list of guys they feel would help improve their team heading into the 2024 season, but a lot of teams have multiple needs that need to be met through the draft. Brian, what are your best fits coming into the first round of the draft?
Well, the first one, I'm going with Jaden Daniels to the Commanders. I think he perfectly fits. I said that earlier, so I'll quickly move from that one. Any edge rusher to the Falcons. Their defense obviously has been the weak point for the multiple years. So they picked it up last year. I think just getting an A-plus edge rusher. I think Dallas Turner is going to be the guy here, but any edge is going to help. Olu Fashanu, I think the Raiders need to bolster that offensive line. I think he is the guy. He's super big, super strong, can play both left or right tackle. Colton Miller is gone in a couple of years. I think 2 years left on that contract, so he could easily start at right, move to left, or play interior. And then Adonai Mitchell to the Bills. Super fast, number 1 receiver type out of Texas. He is a great route runner. The big thing of why he's falling is like effort problems. If he's not the main route in a progression, he usually tends to slack off, which could be problematic. But he would be Allen's number 1 receiver. I think he fits perfectly into that Bills offense, and I think he'll get a lot of targets. So he's going to be the guy there for Buffalo to replace Diggs and Gabe Davis. Well, Ben, I told you my best fits, but who are you locking into this draft?
You know, right here, you're going to see it on this full screen coming up right now. I mean, the Cowboys, ultimately, they need O-line help, and that is abundantly clear. They lost Tony Pollard, and they have some, just kind of makeshift running back room. But, with a good offensive line, any running back room could be stellar. But then moving over to the Ravens, I think Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle, he could be a good fit because of his versatility, and he could really help with the addition of Derrick Henry to this Ravens offense. And the Bengals, if Brock Bowers is able to fall to them in the first round, he could be a good fit for just a second option aside from going to Jamar Chase. Throwing Brock Bowers really could, kind of flip the script and kind of show him the defense is a different look. Then moving over to Kool-Aid McKinstry, we just talked about before. I've seen a lot in mock drafts of Kool-Aid McKinstry going to the Packers, and I feel like just him providing another option in the secondary for this Packers team that's young could really, kind of be a little bit more, a little bit stronger. I'll move back to the Cowboys offensive line, seeing a lot of Jackson Powers-Johnson, seeing a lot of Amarius Mims. We'll see where they actually end up going because they can sometimes surprise us in drafts.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ben will be joined by one of our producers, Alex Brooks, here on WTOP 10.
What's going on?
Yeah, we go on at like 11:30. It's like
No.
What do you mean no?
It's 10:30.
10:30?
Yeah, it's 10:30.
What do you mean it's 10:30?
Hey, don't touch that. That's my ladder.
Hey, man.
Whoa.
You know this book was already discounted 10%?
Wow.
Wow.
Get a close up of that one.
Matthew,
Broadcast news.
look at that.
Can we go back inside? I want to sleep in the studio again.
We'll deep dive into our feelings in our Real Talk segment. Stay tuned because it's about to get real.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Welcome back to Major Discussions.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. Joining me now is Alex Brooks, one of our producers. Alex, what do you have for us tonight?
Thank you, Ben. We start this NFL Draft edition of the Fast Break with some sleepers. An NFL Draft sleeper is a player that might be overlooked or overshadowed amongst different players in the draft. Ben, who is your NFL Draft sleeper that teams should wake up for?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Michael Penix. I mean, we saw what he did this last season with Washington, and really, he really impressed. I mean, a Heisman finalist. He made it to the national championship. He lost to that powerhouse Michigan team. And he put up numbers, 2 straight seasons of 4,500 yards or more. This season, he had 4,903 yards and really just continued to just really put up numbers and win games that people thought that he wouldn't win. He just stayed consistent the entire time. Of course, once he got to Michigan, it all fell apart. But this Michael Penix pick could be a sneak good pick outside of the injuries that are concerning a lot of teams.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's very accurate in Michael Penix Jr. My draft sleeper is Ricky Pearsall from Florida. I mean, he's a 6'1", 190-pound receiver. He has great speed, and someone that kind of got a little overshadowed a little bit. He excelled at the Senior Bowl. He was invited as the Senior Bowl. He had really a great time with route running and catching. His career stats, 2,000 yards, 20 total touchdowns. So he tossed a touchdown and he rushed for a touchdown. So he's versatile all over the field. Well, something to wake us up from all those sleepers, Ben, is maybe the heat in here, because I'm about to give my NFL draft hot take right now. J.J. McCarthy is going to be drafted over Drake May. Ben, do you agree with that hot take, or should I cool off a little bit?
You know, it's really, really interesting. J.J. McCarthy has that game manager mentality, but he doesn't have as much of the physical gift as that Drake May has, and I think they kind of mirror each other in that sort of way, whereas Drake May isn't much of a game manager as much as J.J. McCarthy, because J.J. McCarthy was able to, he didn't have to do much. He just kind of, he'd hand off the ball, he'd call the right plays, he'd get them down the field, and he'd score touchdowns, but wasn't throwing the ball as far. Drake May can really throw the ball far. It's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to ultimately be Drake May over J.J. McCarthy, but it really is a toss-up at this point.
Yeah, my argument for J.J. McCarthy is that NFL teams want to see a proven winner. And J.J. McCarthy did just that when he won the national championship this past year with Michigan. I mean, Drake May, we've seen he's kind of compared to kind of project quarterbacks that, you have to take in for a couple years, sit behind a veteran quarterback. I feel like J.J. McCarthy can come in there and he can excel as the starter. Well, we've gotten our nap in. We played with fire a little bit. But Ben, now let's discuss which prospect that you believe will have the most success in the NFL.
I think it's going to be, we talked about Malik Neighbors before, but I'm talking about his LSU counterpart, Brian Thomas Jr. The guy is 6'4", 205, and he had much less receptions on the season than Neighbors did, but he still had more touchdowns, and he still eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark. So he's still, one of the better wide receivers in college football, and I think that can translate into the NFL. I'd be really excited to see how he does, especially on a team with a quarterback that has a really good arm, and get him going on long balls down the field.
Yeah, I agree. And another playmaker is Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia. I feel like he has that championship pedigree. He was a part of that back-to-back national championship team in Georgia. I mean, he's an impact player day one in any offense that you put him in. I mean, he's been just doing a lot in college and he can translate to the NFL. And one thing to note is that he didn't fumble at all in his career, so he protects the ball really well.
We're going to take a quick break here on Stick to Sports. Thanks once again to Alex for the fast break. When we come back, Brian, Alex, and I will head into extra innings. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Stick to Sports on WTOP 10.
Say, President Stanley, whenever there's bad weather, who would you turn to?
I'd turn to Storm Team 10.
No, but you've got to say it like this. Storm Team 10. Say it with me. Storm Team 10.
Roll it.
Jill
Sure
told
you
me it was
tell him.
Kitty from Glee. Yeah, what is it?
Al Roker.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. Now let's get ready for another edition of the best tradition on sports television. Where do we go? Extra innings. Let's take a look at the extra inning standings as Ben is on top. Brian is second. And I feel like I'm getting the bronze medal this year in third place. If we can see the standings, maybe. There we go. There we go.
They're not updated.
Not updated.
Oh, they're not updated.
But I went 4-1 last week.
I also went 4-1 last week. So
I think I went like 3-2.
I think so.
Okay, 3-2. Okay, so we'll move on from that one. So let's begin our NFL Draft extra inning segment with clearing the air that these picks won't count towards the standings, and they're all in good fun. We will predict who will be chosen for a couple of our favorite teams and more. Brian, I'll start with you. The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock.
Give me Dallas Turner. He fits the need of edge, and he fits the new system, the new defensive coordinator system. He can drop into coverage, which is what the Rams like to do with their edge rushers last year, and we have an old Rams coach as our new defensive coordinator.
You know, I like the Dallas Turner pick. I do. I've seen a lot of good things when, doing the research, watching the tape. I like a lot of things from what I've seen from Dallas Turner. But I would say Jared Verse. You talked about him earlier. Said he could fall back, and I know the Falcons have a little bit of a higher pick, but I still think he could be in that spot. We mentioned it before, 9 sacks in 2 straight seasons for Verse. I think he could be that guy for the Falcons.
Yeah, I kind of agree with both of you, but I'm going to go with Dallas Turner from Alabama. I just feel like he's the better fit for Atlanta. In Alabama, it doesn't have to go far to go to the Atlanta Falcons. A couple picks later, we head to the frozen tundra of Minnesota as the Vikings are on the clock. Ben, who is repping the Skull Chance in U.S. Bank Stadium?
It could be interesting because the Vikings could possibly trade this pick. But so if they do, they could take a quarterback because right now their quarterback room is very, very thin. But if they were to stay back, I feel like they're not going to. I feel like they're going to trade up for a quarterback. So that's going to be my pick. They're going to trade up for a quarterback. I think it's going to be either Drake May or J.J. McCarthy.
I think no matter if they trade or if they stay, it's a quarterback, and I think it's J.J. McCarthy no matter what. I don't think McCarthy's going to go in the top 3, and I think if they stay, unless someone jumps them, they're the next quarterback-needy team. It'll be McCarthy to them at 12 or wherever they jump up to.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to have to jump up to get J.J. McCarthy or any of these top quarterbacks, but I agree. I think Minnesota is going to take J.J. McCarthy here. From the frozen tundra to the nice Florida weather is at 21, the Miami Dolphins are on the clock. Brian, put those sandals on, grab a bucket hat. Who's going to party with Mr. Worldwide in Miami, Florida?
I think it's an interior defensive lineman. I'm kind of between 2, but I'm going to go with Johnny Newton out of Illinois. I think he fits the need. He'll be a really good guy right in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, I was also going to go with an offensive lineman as well. I'm going to say Graham Barton, but also another pick as well, Jackson Powers-Johnson.
I'm going to select J.C. Latham, Ryan Joyce's favorite player, J.C. Latham out of Alabama. You need someone to protect Tua. Heading from Florida to the city of brotherly love as the Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock. Ben, your team is the Cowboys, so no bias here. Who are the Eagles going with in Detroit?
We were talking before, and right now the Eagles need some cornerback help, and I think Cooper DeJean is probably going to be that guy at the point of the Eagles pick. So I'm going to go with him.
I agree with cornerback, but I'm going to go with Nate Wiggins out of Clemson, a guy who can go inside or outside from the slot. And with the aging corners on the outside, he can start in the slot, move to the outside later in his career.
Yeah, I feel like the Eagles are going to have to pick a cornerback after the collapse they had last year. I'm going to agree with you, Ben. Cooper DeJean is going to be the pick out of Iowa for the Eagles. Staying in the NFC East, all the way down in the Lone Star State, the Dallas Cowboys look to add some talent after not getting much of free agency. Ben, grab a cowboy hat, slip on those boots, and who is taking a ride to Jerry World?
I could go on forever about who they could pick, but they're not going to listen to anybody but themselves. But I would say offensive line help, Jackson Powers-Johnson, Amarius Mims, but also the Jerry Jones favorite, Michael Penix.
I'm going with Graham Barton out of Duke, guy who's probably going to end up on the inside of the line, fits a big need for the Cowboys.
And I'm going to go offensive lineman Jackson Powers Johnson. So, Ben, I'll agree with you on the Oregon product.
Yeah, but they probably won't. They'll go with the quarterback for some reason. But that's all the time we have on this episode of Stick to Sports. Be sure to tune in to our 1 hour long season finale live at 9:30 right here on WTOP 10.